I'm most proud of the job that I have done, not just getting clean, but finding out who I am as a woman. And I think it's super important when you're in your 40s. Like, we lose who we are, I feel like, when you're married and you're a mom and things like that. So that's what I'm most proud of, is that I have control of my life, and I've done this myself.
Welcome to the Well With Cannabis podcast, a show dedicated to telling the life-changing stories of those who live well with cannabis, all while teaching you how to do the same. Meet your host, Emily Kyle, a registered dietitian nutritionist turned certified holistic cannabis practitioner. Emily changed her life for the better with the help of the cannabis plant, and now she is committed to helping others do the same. Tune in each week to hear heartwarming stories and gain the knowledge you need to feel connected, inspired, and supported on your own cannabis journey. Whether you're a new cannabis consumer or a lifetime lover, you'll benefit from these uplifting tales of real-life journeys that will show you how you too can live your best life well with cannabis.
Before we jump into today's episode, I wanted to share a note on potentially sensitive content. The episodes on the Well With Cannabis podcast are created for adult audiences only. We will at times cover sensitive topics, including but not limited to suicide, abuse, mental illness, sex, drugs, alcohol, psychedelics, and the obvious use of plant medicine. Explicit language may be used occasionally. Please refrain from watching or listening to the show if you're likely to be offended or adversely impacted by any of these topics. The information on this show is for informational and educational purposes only. It does not constitute medical advice. If any of the content on this podcast has brought up anything for you, please reach out or speak to a professional or someone you trust. Hello and welcome back to another episode of the Well With Cannabis podcast. And I am so excited to invite you to join me for an amazing interview today with our friend Rose, who is going to give us a little history about her back use with cannabis and how she says now she feels balanced and for the first time in her life is finally feeling happy. Rose, welcome. Thank you so much for joining me today. I'm really excited to have you here and hear your story.
Well, thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to share my journey with you.
Awesome. So give me the rundown, a little bit about who you are and how you ended up crossing my path and how you got into cannabis.
Well, I'm, without giving like too many specifics, I'm a Gen Xer, who I am a professional. I have a master's degree, and I started using cannabis when I was like 13, and and it's just really, it's helped me in a lot of aspects of my life. So I wanted to just kind of share my story.
That is amazing. Thank you so much. And actually, it's so interesting. You are like the fifth person out of six, I think, that I've interviewed that has a master's degree.
Uh-huh.
And I keep finding all of these healthcare professionals being pulled towards cannabis. Mm-hmm. So I know you're remaining anonymous. Do you want to talk at all about your experience, like coming out or navigating that in your personal life?
Sure. Yeah. So yeah, it was very, like, when I was growing up, it was super taboo. And not taboo. I don't know. Is that the word I would use? Probably.
Yeah.
I mean, the first time I did it, I smoked in my friend's bathroom with her, the bathroom downstairs. So yeah, so I have in recent years started to almost come out more and more to like my family and my friends about using, because it's helped me so much. And yeah, it's just, but there are still some people who are like my sister's a medical in the medical field, and she's like doesn't believe in it at all. So we kind of always skirt around the issue. We kind of like agree to disagree, but yeah.
I totally see, like, for a lot of families, sometimes it's easier just to like pretend that it doesn't exist, as much as we want people to accept it. There are certain family members where it's just not worth pushing the boundary at all.
Well, right. Exactly. Yes, I completely agree. Yeah.
Tell me a little bit about how you got started using cannabis. I should say medicinally, because we know like you had lots of fun as a teenager.
Right. Exactly. Okay. Well, medicinally, I started using cannabis. I started kind of like really tracking how I was using it, how it was making me feel after I got over, like I've spent the past 4 or 5 years getting over an addiction, not to cannabis, obviously, another addiction, but it's really helped me to manage, like curb. At first it was to curb the cravings and stuff like that, but now that I've gone through this whole transformation of getting better, it has helped me to maintain a balance of myself and find my center and quiet myself so that I can find that center. And so it's really been an amazing journey.
Oh, that is so, I'm so happy for you, first of all, that you found cannabis. Do you want to talk a little bit more about your addiction? Because I just envision people listening to this podcast and learning from your story. A lot of people really struggle with sobriety and where cannabis can play a role in that. Did you have any experience with that?
Yeah, my addiction was really super bad. I ended up leaving my job. I had no money. I had no power. Like, it was devastating, like just devastating. And so I think at first, like when I was getting clean, and I got clean myself. I didn't go to rehab or anything. And that's not for everybody, but
Right.
but for me, that was what was good for me. And I didn't know, like, at first, would I be able to still use cannabis? Like, would I have to get completely stop everything? But then I was like, no, is the more I took control of myself instead of the addiction having control of me, the more I was like, no, I can do this. And I had been diagnosed with bipolar like in my 20s. And so at this time also, like, I lost my health insurance. So I detoxed from all of that medicine, from the drug and from all of that psych medicine. And cannabis has really just helped me to just maintain that good sense of balance. Do you know what I mean? Like, I don't know if that answers your question, even. I might be meandering.
It absolutely answers the question. And it's honestly so interesting in all of these interviews that I do. Everybody comes back to the same, like, cannabis brings me back to myself. It brings back balance. You're just echoing the same message, which I'm so happy to hear, because it really just makes people's quality of lives so much better. And you're just echoing that.
Yes.
I'm so happy for you.
Thank you. Tony, I was just thinking that this morning when I was thinking, like, again, going over things in my head that I would say to you. But yeah, it makes even going to the grocery store, like, just so much, it makes it so much more tolerable.
Absolutely.
Who wouldn't want to do this? I don't know.
So funny. I was just talking to another woman, and she was like, how would anybody not want cannabis? Like, it's just, and we both said it's like living in a black and white world and finally seeing in color, that it's just, you didn't even know that life could be so good on the other side of it.
Yes. I agree.
Have you ever struggled with feeling like you're officially coming out of the cannabis closet, or do you feel like you're still kind of keeping it under wraps?
I have come out, like, way more than I was, but still, I think I'm still cautious. With the day and age that we live in, with everybody having an opinion about everything, and after the pandemic and stuff like that, I feel like I'm not being a hypocrite. I'm not keeping it to myself and then doing something like this, but I feel like I do pick and choose. I do read the room.
I think that's a really good piece of advice for everybody, because in this day and age, I mean, and where are you located? Because different states are different too.
I'm actually, we're close to each other. I was looking at your newsletter this morning. You can edit this out. But I was looking at your newsletter this morning, and I'm like, wow, she's in New York. I'm like, let me Google where this is. I'm like, dude, I'm in Buffalo and she's in Rochester.
Oh my gosh, that is amazing. That is so exciting. So I'm hoping in the future to do in-person events. Would be amazing if we got the opportunity to meet.
Yes, that would be so fun.
Now, there are so many dispensaries opening up in Buffalo. Not even, I don't even know if like full rec are, but like just CBD dispensaries. Have you visited any yet?
Yes, I have. There's one around the corner from me. And to be honest, and you can, again, edit this out if you must, but I don't think they must not have a license, because they're like,
it's a very gray area.
And they don't charge tax or anything like that. And I get a lot of good stuff. And I love that the edibles are so readily available.
Yes.
Like,
just to be able to just like go to the grocery store, pick up what you need, get your medicine and go home is amazing.
Yes. Yeah.
So do you have any advice for someone, say someone's listening here and they've never tried cannabis before, but perhaps maybe they have had an addiction and they're interested in starting cannabis, but don't know where to start? Do you have any advice for them?
I would say, number one, definitely do some reading about it, because, like, there's
just so much.
Oh, there is so much. And and you don't want to, and definitely I would say that and get something that you can cut up. like the gummies or something like that. Like even
Yes.
when they come in cubes, I'll like fourth of those cubes.
Yes. Such good advice.
You know, and just even take a bite of one of those pieces of the quarter, and that like start slow.
Yes.
I would say that so you could build up your tolerance. And I would say, in my case at least, I take some days off. I like
so smart.
Right. And then it helps me to like balance out like how I get my work done and stuff like that.
Yes,
So
absolutely. So you said you love the micro dosing.
Mm-hmm.
And you also do meditation. Have you found that cannabis helps with your overall wellness?
Yes. I actually found that again, it's just such a great tool.
I always tell people it's like a tool in your wellness tool belt. It's not the only thing, but it helps a lot.
Right. It helped me to learn how to meditate. Like I would go down YouTube, I would do some guided transcendental meditation, and it would help me to be quiet enough to learn how to do it and to see the benefits of it. So now I can do it without smoking or without taking
That's amazing. That's awesome. And are you doing that frequently now?
I do. Yeah. Yep.
That's gotta feel so good.
We just switched the TVs in our house. So in my room, I have like a smart TV now. So I'll mirror like a meditation music all night long. And then I have that light going too. So it's great.
That is amazing. I keep seeing this theme over and over again, that when cannabis is introduced, we feel so much better, that we improve other areas of our health and wellness as well, whether it's eating better or exercise or doing meditation. So it's just a perfect, I mean, everybody's stories in a way are so similar, and it's so perfect for people to hear, because I just want to showcase the amazing benefits and how good we can feel.
Well, right. Yeah, exactly. And it's so great. I'm so excited that you're doing that.
Oh, thank you so much. I mean, just hearing other people's stories and ultimately feeling like we're not alone, because I feel like that's the hardest part when it comes to cannabis, is not having a support system, or just not having family members, or some people have nobody to talk to about it.
Right.
Depending on how nice their family is and supportive. But to have somebody in your life who uses cannabis regularly and understands it and can see the benefits, I feel like is such a nice feeling. So I'm so glad, like the plant brought us together. Here we are, probably an hour away from each other in the world anyway, which is so crazy, but it just goes to show like that plant is so magical.
Well, it is definitely.
It is. It's the best. Now I want to be respectful of your time. So I'm going to ask you the same 4 questions I ask all my guests. Are you ready to start?
Yep, I'm ready.
Okay, perfect. First and foremost, what are you most proud of in your life to date?
I'm most proud of, well, definitely how my daughter turned out, and like my job with mom. Well, that goes without saying, but I'm most proud of the job that I have done, not just getting clean, but like finding out who I am as a woman. And I think it's super important when you're in your 40s, like we lose who we are. I feel like when you're married and you're a mom and things like that. So I had to find out again who I was and go back to like who I was as a teenager and as a child and things like that. So that's what I'm most proud of, is that I have control of my life and I've done this myself.
Oh, I'm so proud of you. That gives me goosebumps. I'm really so happy for you. That is amazing. If you could look back and tell yourself 10, 20, 30 years ago, just one piece of cannabis advice, what would you give yourself?
Wait, one piece of what kind of advice?
Cannabis advice. Oh, you could whisper something in your ear as a teenager about cannabis.
What would it be? Geez, that's a hard one.
Totally.
The piece of advice that I would give myself about cannabis is invest in cannabis.
Ooh, that is a great one. So smart. You're the first person to say that. Now, what do you think your life would look like if you didn't have cannabis?
Oh God. Oh jeez. Like when I think back even to like when I did, let me think. When my daughter was growing up and I wasn't using it at all, and I was using psych meds instead, and I was like zombied out. I didn't know, like looking back on it now, I think like, oh, I didn't know who I was. You know what I mean? I had no great love moments or anything, but like, but I was happy at the time, you know, but I was messy and I was chaotic and I thrived on chaos, and now I don't anymore. And I think that cannabis has had a hand in that.
Oh, I'm so happy for you. And to like have an alternative that makes you feel better without all of the side effects too. I feel like that comes down to like really the cherry on top for a lot of people, is cannabis is relatively side effect free.
Right. Yeah. I hate the attitude that people have, like, and I just can't understand it, that like, oh, alcohol is okay, but cannabis, you're a drug addict. Like,
It's
no.
crazy.
Oh my God.
I know, like, I don't know anybody in this world who eats basil or oregano and we're like, you're a drug addict. Like, cannabis to me falls in the same category. It's a vegetable, it's a plant, like, and when I think of drugs, I mean, I think of pharmaceuticals made in a lab, pushed by big pharma. And I truly think that the stigma against cannabis is directly related to big pharma. I'm sure big pharma doesn't want us having this conversation here today. They don't want you telling people how much better you feel without their medication.
Right. Like, I've had, for the past 3 or 4 years, I've had very severe, not very severe in respect to people who do have severe kidney problems, but mine have been bad. They've been very bad. And I keep getting these stones, these infections. I've had surgeries. So finally, I have a nephrologist who figured out what the problem was. And it's because of a drug that I was taking, a psych drug that I was taking on, that I was on for a long time. And I've been off of it for a long time, for probably about 5 years now. And that now I'm having all these problems with my kidneys.
Oh my gosh, that's so crazy.
I know.
That's great. I mean, and like, there will be no repercussions to these drug companies at the end of the day, which is so sad. Like, it just makes me feel like, and yet people are so worried about cannabis when the side effects are what? Sleepy, maybe anxious, worst case scenario, anxiety, panic attack. But I mean, long-term kidney damage. I'm so sorry to hear that.
Thank you. Thanks. I know but at least they found out now what the problem is. So that's good.
True. And they can take care of you. And, you know, if anything, maybe someone on the other end is listening to this and maybe not feeling well and can go to their doctors and maybe suggest, you know, if there's a connection there. So thank you for sharing that with us. You never know who it's going to help down the line for sure.
Definitely.
Now, last question. If you could be remembered for just one thing in this world, cannabis related or not, what would it be?
Oh, jeez. I would want to be remembered for bringing light into whoever's life I was in, I think.
I feel that. I feel you're bringing that to this podcast. Anybody who's going to listen to this is going to feel your light. It's really so sweet of you to take your time and share your story. I really hope other people, especially those who have struggled with addiction, can listen to your story, because I think it's really important to show that you can absolutely use cannabis as part of a clean and healthy lifestyle. At the end of the day, you're just the perfect epitome of that. So thank you so much for coming and showing us that.
Of course. I'm so happy. Thank you so much for having me.
Congratulations! You've finished another episode of the Well With Cannabis podcast and are one step closer to discovering how you too can live well with cannabis. Thank you for listening in today. We hope this episode has been a helpful and informative one. Please visit EmilyKyleNutrition.com for more information on today's show notes, guest information, recipes, and other resources. If you want more support and encouragement on your cannabis journey, please consider joining the private Well With Cannabis community. In this group, you can connect with like-minded individuals focused on improving their health and wellness through cannabis. Join the group today to continue your journey of wellness together at EmilyKyleNutrition.com.